Welcome back to part 4 of the series. This is an exciting day. I always love this day. Some of the most intimidating, frustrating work is over. The stuff that gets your heart rate up, makes you a little bit nervous. Most of that stuff is done with. Today it's going to be a pretty easy day. We've got those finished bevels on the knives up to 220 grit, but now we have to put micro bevels on them. So here's knife number 1. You can see we have the beautiful grind. Everything just looks right here. Nice crispy line, no scratches up here, nice and clean. Our stamps look great, but you can probably see right down here we have those few marks there still from the forge and whatnot. Man, look at that finish. All freehand grind. Quite happy with the grinds on these. They're not perfect. Every once in a while in a certain light you'll still catch a facet, but pretty great overall. Smudgy there now from the oil that was on them, but just really happy. But you'll see that bit of black there, and why that is, let's see if I can show you here. Okay, so you can probably see here now, this is looking at the bottom of the knife, that roughly mil thick, just under a mil thick of material all the way along there. So we get to take that off now and establish ourselves a micro bevel. So in the knife world, I learned this to be your primary grind. This is the actual shape or design of your knife. And then right down here, this extra bevel that almost every knife has is called a micro bevel. And that's what creates your apex. So all this here is like your relief from your actual bevel that you cut with. So I'm going back to my little Delta here, my little 1x30. I've got a brand new 240 grit belt here. The one nice thing about these little 1x30s is that these belts are dirt cheap. And I found these 240s here great, super sharp when they're new. And they last a little while, but they give a lovely finish. So 240 turning this fast is not too far off when I start working with my whetstones, and I'll start with the 400. So I'll use this to put in a small, probably about a mil and a half deep micro bevel. I get to choose my angle. That's one nice thing about knife making. So I just pick that angle and just try to run it evenly all the way across there and bring it all the way to an apex. So this is the fun part. I actually really enjoy this part. It's not too risky either. You need to be steady. You need to be really steady because you don't want a wavy line that'll look terrible on your freshly ground primary bevels. But it's pretty controllable on this little belt, and you don't get any real amount of heat because you're removing a small amount of steel right near the edge. You're just a feather light touch with this. But yeah, it's good fun. Get the mask on, let's get to work. Now, if you wanted a good way to practice your whetstone sharpening, take up knife making. So every knife you have all kinds of replica knives like this, and they all come with pretty much no edges, so you just get practice over and over and over. Knife number 1 here, micro bevel looks pretty good. It's looking very nice. I'm going to go to 400 grit. This is a Nanowash Superstone. If you're wondering how to sharpen, I have a playlist on sharpening with all kinds of videos. So this is not going to be a tutorial. This is just me sharpening for a long time until I get these blades whipped into shape. I tell you though, it's pretty rewarding seeing that razor polished edge come on a blade that you created, that you heat treated. So all you. So the first batch of bake apple knives ever are about to get handles, which is super exciting. We're on the home stretch here now. Now, gluing up handles can still be tricky, and you've got to be quite precise if you want a great fit and finish. And if you want a good glue set, you got to do your clamping right, and your pre-gluing cleanup has to be done right. But I'd call it the home stretch. Tape everything up. We don't want to scratch those bevels, and we don't want to dull or dent our beautifully created edge. Now I'll put tape right up as close to, that's number 2 here by the way, I'll put tape right up as close to where the handle's going to end. I want as less exposure to the work environment as possible when I'm working on the handle. So the least steel face that can be exposed, the better. The least chance we'll have to go in and fix something up, touch something up in the future. As far as I know, there doesn't exist bake apple wood, but I did want to do something Newfoundland inspired. So this is juniper wood. This has been sitting in the shop here for a few years drying, so it's quite dry. It's not a super hard wood, it's relatively soft, but I'm going to stabilize that mildly later. But I just ripped this with a handsaw out of a bigger piece, roughly a 2x2. Look at this grain structure. Just such a contrast between the end of year wood and the new growth, the light and the dark. It's just So beautiful. The pattern is incredibly strong. We have come to the end of another episode. This wasn't supposed to be the end, but after prepping all the pins, scales are done, drilled, knives are ready, all ready to be glued up, I realized I don't have any epoxy here. So there's a little bit of a fail there, but we'll have to pick some up, and hopefully I can get some in town here, or we might be a day or two before we get back to the video. Thank you guys for watching this one. This was a nice easy day in the shop. I'm not dirty, I'm not sweating. It's just easy, monotonous work. Not too bad at all. A little bit tedious at times, especially getting those pinholes straight through two scales and through the tang. You need to be real precise with that or you have problems in glue up. Thank you guys for watching. Please hit the like button, leave a comment, share the video if you really like it. You know what to do. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next one.